Hello everyone, welcome to the channel Study with Asmita. Today we are going to start with the second part of our chapter of class 11, that is biological classification. So in previous video we have already studied about the kingdom Monera. In this video we are going to discuss the kingdom Protista. So kingdom Protista consists of all the unicellular and eukaryotic organisms. So in previous kingdom we have already studied about the unicellular prokaryotes, right? But these organisms are eukaryotic, means the nucleus is a bounded structure in these organisms, right? Now if we talk about habitat, then these organisms are mostly aquatic and they can be found in both freshwater as well as marine environment. If we talk about the cell wall, then mostly absent in all the organisms, but there are few organisms of this kingdom which possess cell wall. Now if we come to talk about motility, then motility can be done through flagella, cilia and pseudopodia. Flagella in the case of euglena and dinoflagellates. Now if we talk about the paramecium, its movements take place through the cilia, and in case of amoeba it moves through its pseudopodia. Now let's talk about the next topic, that is nutrition. So nutrition in these organisms can be autotrophic, mixotrophic, which is both autotrophic or heterotrophic, and then heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So in case of autotrophic, photosynthetic organisms are there such as diatoms and dinoflagellates. In case of mixotrophic, euglena is there, which performs photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight, and if sunlight is absent then it acts as a predator. Now in the case of heterotrophic mode of nutrition, it can be in the form of free living, takes place by phagocytosis in case of amoeba, then act as a parasitic in case of plasmodium. It can be also saprophytic in case of slime molds, or also known as fungal protista. Now one of the important note that is given here about the chlamydomonas. So it was basically first placed in the kingdom plant, but then it was classified as unicellular eukaryotic organism, so it comes under the kingdom Protista. So now let's start with the next topic, reproduction in Protista. So it can be done through both asexual and sexual methods. So in case of asexual method, it can be done through fission and spore formation. In case of sexual, obviously gamete formation takes place here, and then zygote is formed. If we talk about fission, then it can be both binary in case of amoeba and multiple in case of plasmodium, which is also known as malarial parasite. Now in case of spore formation, it takes place in slime molds. Now we are going to look at the major groups of the Protista. These are crystophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoans. So these are basically the classification of the Protista. So the first one, crystophytes, are aquatic living, which can be found in both marine as well as in freshwater. Now if we talk about the cell wall, then these organisms possess cell wall, and it is made up of silica, pectin and a small amount of cellulose. Now it has two overlapping cells that forms a box-like structure. So here we can see in the diagram that this is the overlapping cell structure of these chrystophytes, and this upper cell is known as epitheca, whereas the lower cell is known as hypotheca. Now coming to the nutrition, then these organisms are autotrophic and photosynthetic organisms, means they perform photosynthesis for their survival. Then coming to the most important topic, that is diatomaceous earth. So these are basically, diatomaceous earth is the accumulation of cell wall of diatoms over the several generations on their habitat. As we have discussed about, the cell wall of chrystophytes is made up of silica, pectin and cellulose, right? The upper part is known as epitheca and the lower one, that is hypotheca. So after the death of these organisms, this cell wall remains subtended in their habitat and it forms diatomaceous earth. Now these diatoms has the cell wall which cannot be destroyed because of the presence of the silica in it. Now if we talk about the importance of diatomaceous earth, then it is very useful for humans, and it is used in polishing, infiltration of oils and syrups, for example diatoms and golden algae. Now one of the important note is given here, that is diatoms are chief producers in the ocean. Okay. Now coming to the next topic, that is dinoflagellates. So if we talk about its habitat, then it is mostly marine habitat. Then coming to the cell wall, then present with stiff cellulose plate having longitudinal and transversal groove furrows for two flagella. Okay. If we talk about the nutrition, that is photosynthetic autotrophic. Now it can be present in variable colors such as green, red, blue, brown and yellow. Now one of the most important topic, that is red tide. So basically red tide is the rapid multiplication of red dinoflagellates. Okay, so because of these multiplication, the sea appears red and it is called red tides. Coming to the third topic, that is euglenoids. So if we talk about its habitat, then this is the most important part. We have to keep in mind that its habitat is fresh stagnant water. Now coming to the cell wall, then it's absent, but a protein rich layer is present on the body surface called pellicle, which makes the body flexible. So let us take a look of a diagram. If we see the diagram, then the cell wall of this organism is absent, but a protein layer is present on their body surface which makes the body flexible, and it is known as pellicle. Okay. Now the mode of nutrition is mixotropic, that can be both autotrophic and heterotrophic. So in case of autotrophic, it performs photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight, and in case of heterotrophic, it acts as predator in the absence of sunlight. If we talk about the motility, then they have two unequal flagella. Example euglena, which has one very long flagella while the other one is very short. Now a note is given here that euglenoids are connecting link between the plants and the animals. So basically we can see that the mode of nutrition is mixotropic, that is both autotrophic and heterotrophic, means it has chlorophyll like plants, whereas it also acts as a predator such as animals. So it shows the characteristic of plants and animals both. So these are known as connecting link between the plants and animals. Now let's talk about the fourth topic, that is slime moulds, also known as fungal protistans. So its habitat, if we talk about, then they grow on the dead and decaying materials like decaying twigs, leaves and wood. Okay. Now let's talk about the cell wall. So cell wall is absent in the mature form, but it is present in the spore form. And the cell wall of the spores of slime moulds is made up of cellulose. So basically it has cellulosic cell wall. Okay. Now the spores are highly resistant and it can survive up to many years under unfavorable condition. If we talk about the nutrition, then it's mostly saprophytic as they grow on the twigs and wood. Now coming to the plasmodium, so it is basically an aggregation of slime moulds under the favorable climatic conditions. Now fruiting body, so it is basically under unfavorable climatic condition, plasmodium differentiate to produce spores containing fruiting bodies. Now the dispersion of the spores can be done through the air currents. Now coming to the last classification, that is protozoans, that is primitive relatives of animals as they lack cell wall and are motile. Now if we talk about their habitat, then it's mostly aquatic, which can be both marine and freshwater. Now coming to the cell wall, then it's absent in protozoans, and the mode of nutrition is heterotrophic, that can be both holozoic or parasitic. Now osmoregulation is basically a process for excretion in these organisms. Regulation of water by the contractile vacuole is known as osmoregulation. Now coming to the motility, then it's mostly present in these organisms and it can be done through pseudopodia, cilia or flagella. Now the next topic, that is reproduction, which can be both asexual or by sexual method. In case of asexual method, it can be done through the fission or spore formation, while in case of sexual reproduction, gametes are formed and zygote formation takes place. Now coming to the classification of protozoans, which can be classified as amoeboid, flagellated, ciliated and sporozoans. So let's talk about the first classification, that is amoeba. So if we talk about its habitat, then it is aquatic, which can be both marine water or fresh water. It can also found in moist soil. Now if we talk about the cell wall, then it absent, and marine forms have silica cell on their outer body surface. Now the mode of nutrition is mostly holozoic, that is phagocytosis, which means intaking of solid food by a cell, and some are parasitic organisms here. Example, Entamoeba histolica, which is a human parasite which causes the disease called amoebic dysentery. Now motility is done through the pseudopodia, which is also known as false feet. Now these organisms have mostly single nucleus and a true nucleus with nuclear membrane, and some are multinucleated. So the next classification, that is flagellated protozoans. So the habitat is mostly aquatic and are free living organisms. Then the cell wall is absent in these protozoans, and presence of one or more flagella helps in the motility. Now the mode of nutrition can be holozoic or parasitic. Parasitic protozoans cause disease such as sleeping sickness in humans, which is caused by trypanosoma. Now the third one is the ciliated protozoans. They are free living aquatic organisms and they have two nuclei, micro and macro. They also have a cavity called gullet with an opening on its surface called cytostome. Now the cell wall is absent in these organisms. Its motility is done through the cilia, and the mode of nutrition is holozoic, for example paramecium. So basically this is the diagram of paramecium, which is a slipper shaped like organisms. This is the gullet here, and cilia is present all over the body surface to provide motility to these organisms. These organism also has two nuclei, that is first one is macro and the second one is micro. Now coming to the next topic, that is sporozoans, means these are spore producing protozoans. If we talk about the habitat, then these are mostly disease causing organisms. So these are disease causing endoparasites. If we talk about the mortality, then it's absent in these organisms. Important note is given here about the sporozoites, that is, they are having spores like infectious stage during their life cycle called sporozoite. At this stage of their life, they cause harm to the host. Coming to the example, then it's Plasmodium, which is a malaria causing pathogen which requires two hosts to complete its life cycle. First one is mosquito, that is the primary host, and the second one is humans, that is the secondary host. Now these are the diagrams of sporozoites, the infectious stage of Plasmodium. Now with this we came to the end of the second part of the chapter by covering the kingdom Protista here. And if there is any doubt, you can ask me in the comment section. Till then, take care of yourself, keep on studying, keep growing, be motivated, and like, share, subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.